due to a selfish man's injured pride and the outrage of supporters who he has deliberately misinformed for the past 2 months and stirred to action this very morning. What happened here today was an insurrection incited by the President of the United States. Those who choose to continue to support his dangerous gambit by objecting to the results of a legitimate democratic election will forever be seen as being complicit in an unprecedented attack against our democracy.
In 13 days, President-elect Joe Biden will take the oath of office on Capitol Hill. It will come on the heels of yesterday's riot there, where supporters of President Trump, egged on by President Trump, stormed the Capitol in a deadly fit of delusion.
Incited by Donald Trump to go up to the Capitol. He said weakness will never do it. They have to go up to the Capitol and show strength.
His son pushed them along.
His son said, "We're coming after you."
Rudy
Giuliani talked about trial by combat. I mean, that is talking about inciting an insurrection against the United States government, against the Capitol, and done specifically. Think about this. There's really we're going to have lawyers on and be asking questions whether Donald Trump actually could be charged with insurrection against the United States of America. It's not really even a close call.
Yeah.
It's not a close call because what he did and what Don Jr. did and what Rudy Giuliani did and what all of these people did, they did explicitly to stop the United States Congress from doing their constitutional duty. The United States Constitution required them to get together yesterday and approve electors from the state. Ordered by the Constitution of the United States to do that, Donald Trump committed insurrection and encouraged insurrection against the United States of America to undermine the constitutional protections that our founders gave us and Mika. If that's not a crime, if Rudy Giuliani didn't commit a crime yesterday, if Don Jr. didn't commit a crime, speaking at a rally to stop a constitutional process, I don't know why they would even have that statute on the books.
Well, it is, but the thing is, like everything else with this president, he will move forward with this day, very proud of what he's done. He will be supported by people, sycophants, members of his cult, who will stoke his ego and stroke it, and he will be very proud of what he's done. There will be no accountability
he can be proud of what he's
unless
done.
people step up and give him accountability.
He needs to be arrested.
Too weak.
He needs to be fingerprinted. He needs to be put behind bars. They can decide whether he deserves bail or not, but let him be proud behind bars. Let him be proud while he's wiping the ink off of his fingers.
It won't happen.
Well, it needs to happen. Members of Congress had to take cover yesterday. Police officers outmatched because Donald Trump's calls for insurrection. And the bastion of American democracy was soiled in the eyes of the free world.
This country will long remember the leading role played by Republican lawmakers like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, who today call for law and order after fanning the flames of the most deranged among us. Here is what helped trigger it all. The words of Donald Trump and his closest enablers.
And we're going to have to fight much harder. And Mike Pence is going to have to come through for us. And if he doesn't, that will be a sad day for our country. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol. And we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness.
Over the next 10 days, we get to see the machines that are crooked, the ballots that are fraudulent, and if we're wrong, we will be made fools of. But if we're right, a lot of them will go to jail. So, let's have trial by combat.
Guess what, folks? If you're gonna be the zero and not the hero, we're coming for you, and we're gonna have a good time doing it.
Oh God, it's just sick. It's absolutely sick. Let's bring in Democratic Senator.
I want to go to Willie first. Willie, again, just a simple reading of the statute on being part of a conspiracy for insurrection against the United States government clearly covers Donald Trump Jr.'s language yesterday. We're coming after you. If you don't vote the way we want you to vote, we're coming after you. Donald Trump talking about marching up and trying to show strength, not weakness. You can't be weak. Sounding just like Mussolini, actually. He's a fascist. We've been saying for some time he's a fascist, or at least I have. And then Rudy Giuliani, trial by combat. All this was followed by the sacking of the U.S. Capitol. All this was followed by insurrection that stopped the constitutional process of counting electors to determine the next president of the United States. It doesn't seem to get much clearer than that.
Yeah, and the thing with them always has been that words are cheap. They can say whatever they want. They don't have to suffer the consequences. They're not standing in that building trying to hold a line with the Capitol Police as thousands of people stream in. They went out and said all of those things, and we can't underline enough what you said earlier, Joe, which is that we knew this was coming. Yes, it's shocking to look at these pictures, but it's not surprising. Anyone who's followed what's happening among Trump supporters online, what's happening with QAnon online, and what Donald Trump has been encouraging out in the open, knows that this was the plan. They weren't coming to Washington to have a nice peaceful stroll down Pennsylvania Avenue. They were coming to stop this vote very specifically. So what did that mean to them? It meant getting inside the Capitol building. This isn't something we have to look at after and say, my gosh, how did it happen? We can watch how they talked about it and planned it before it happened. And that's why it's so frustrating that we weren't better prepared, that the police force, that the National Guard wasn't better prepared for what happened. And we ought to point out, Joe, after all of this, after everything you're seeing right now, these disgraceful images of people parading through the Capitol, of overrunning police, of causing damage, of sitting at the desk in Nancy Pelosi's office, of removing the placard from her office. Joe, you had one of those outside yours, of the Confederate flag being walked through the United States Capitol. After that, here's the list of Republican senators who got up late at night and still voted to object to the results of the Electoral College certification. So the conspiracy theories that drove all those people to Washington yesterday and that pushed them into that building to do what they did are supported by this list of Republican senators. In Arizona, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, John Kennedy, Cindy Hyde-Smith, Roger Marshall, Tommy Tuberville. For Pennsylvania, there were even more. Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Rick Scott joined in from Florida, Cindy Hyde-Smith, Cynthia Loomis, Roger Marshall, and again, Tommy Tuberville. That right there, this is not beforehand. This is after the riot we saw, the insurrection we saw inside the United States Capitol. They still got up and made the case that what the people who rushed into the building yesterday did was valid because of conspiracy theories that they heard about online and were validated by that group of senators yesterday.
Despite the fact that every senator on that list knows that everything that Donald Trump is saying, all of these bogus claims, were all lies. Again, in the United States of America, they understand as well, because many of them went to the best law schools in America. They understand that if you have questions about the legality of a voting process, how a state conducted the polls, it's going to be determined, but it's going to be determined in courts, in state courts, and in the federal court, and possibly even at the United States Supreme Court. Not done while giving speeches on January the 6th, trying to whip people into a frenzy to commit acts of insurrection and treason against the United States of America.
So I'm just confused. We've got 2 weeks left of this, of a president and these losers who follow him, Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, these criminals.
They're not losers, they're criminals.
Criminals who follow him They're going to be left still in charge. President Trump is as well. Another day is going to go by with no accountability. I mean, just think about this. If this happened in your home, people watching us right now, if this happened in your home, if people came in and vandalized and terrorized your home and trashed your home like they trashed the offices of the U.S. Capitol, the police would come and would pull them out and would arrest them. This was worse than our home. This is the people's house, which was trashed and desecrated, and by the way, during the process of democracy. And what is being done to take care of the criminals who started this?
Well, and of course, the People's House and the world's most deliberative body, trashed by a party who, first of all, was very critical of the Black Lives Matter marches this summer, and also by a party who claimed to be the law and order party. But the leaders of the party
We have 13 more days of
were
this?
cheering this on. Let's bring in Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow of Michigan. Hey, Debbie, it's always great talking to you. We served together in the House. I never, in a million years, and I know you never did either, never expected to see a day like this at our Capitol. Tell us about us. Take us through, if you can, what happened yesterday while you were trying to do your constitutional duty.
Well, Joe, Mika, Willie, it's always great to be with you. It was pretty frightening yesterday, I have to say. You know, I came into the Senate in 2001 and experienced 9/11, and I've not felt since that time anything like I felt yesterday. But the difference is, though, that those were foreign terrorists that attacked our capital and our country. And this, as you have said rightly, this was encouraged and incited by the president of the United States. And so when we were sitting there and all of a sudden we started hearing some noise outside the chambers, we weren't seeing what everybody was seeing on TV. I began to get some texts from my staff that people had been able to get into the second floor of the Capitol and you know, stunned. And then all of a sudden the vice president is taken out, and then the Capitol Police take over and start shouting, lock the doors, lock the doors, lock the doors, which of course they did immediately. A little while later, I don't know how many minutes it was, they told us to get up and go. And literally they were saying, go, 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 go. And we went out, down backstairs, down to the basement, over to the Capitol office building, the Hart office building, where we then spent a significant amount of time. But I'll tell you what was important to me, Joe, is that we finished the job. We made the decision as the United States Senate that it helped whatever length of time it took to get the chambers back in order. We were going back into the chambers, and we were going to complete our work. And frankly, this mob, these terrorists, this person who calls himself President of the United States was not going to stop us from accepting the Electoral College votes and making very clear that it may take 12 days from now, but Joe Biden will be President of the United States.
And good for you, Senator Stabenow. The country needed to see you all conducting the business, no matter how long it took or how late it went. So we commend you for doing that. You know, I was texting with people on the Hill, some of your colleagues, and early in this, and I said to one, I said, how are you doing? Are you okay? What's going on there? And he said, well, here's how it's going. My staff, who I'm separated from, I'm locked in my office, my staff just texted me to tell me where the gas masks are in the storage closet, so not so great. So I'm curious to know what you think happens from here. We have 13 days left in this presidency. This is clearly and obviously a dangerous president. Should he somehow be removed from office? Should there be something in place to stop him for these last 2 weeks?
Well, I agree that we should do whatever we can get the support to do, whether it's the 25th Amendment and what the cabinet should do, or whether it's going back and making a motion to reconsider the impeachment. I mean, a year ago, right now, we were in the United States Senate debating whether or not this president could be removed from office just a year ago. And in fact, if we'd had a bipartisan vote there, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't have had this last year of inciting and conspiracy theories and all of the other things that have happened that are so damaging to our country, far beyond this person being in office. So if there was a way, if there was the political will, I certainly would support doing that. I think when people say, what can he do in 12 days? Well, look what he did in 12 hours yesterday. So I do think it's a very serious time.